Live from our studio in downtown Eureka, you're watching North Coast News on KBVU FOX 28. At 10, get the facts right.
It's another bank robbery, this time in Fortuna. Now Fortuna police are asking for the public's assistance. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for North Coast News, KBVU FOX 28 News at 10. I'm Symphony Sherman. Karen Bright has the night off. Police say they responded to a bank on the 1000 block of Fortuna Boulevard to the report of an armed bank robbery. Officers say a bank teller told them the suspect had a black handgun. He made off with an unknown amount of cash. Police describe him as a white or Native American male, 5'10". He was wearing a black baseball hat with an orange bill and a Giants logo. The suspect was wearing a dark-colored sweatshirt. Anyone with information is asked to call the Fortuna Police Department. And a shooting in Willow Creek is under investigation. Humboldt County deputies say it started as a report of an armed robbery shortly before noon off Sabretooth Road in Willow Creek. Deputies say 2 or 3 male suspects stole the victim's yellow pickup truck. Turns out the victim has been shot and was flown out of the area. If you have information, call the sheriff's office. The language in Proposition 64, the ballot measure to legalize recreational marijuana, has been edited ahead of elections in November. A Sacramento County Superior Court judge heard arguments in court from both sides of Prop 64. The judge allowed opponents to argue the ballot measure could lead to televised marijuana advertisements targeting kids. However, ads are a possibility, not a certainty. The judge rejected opponents' attempts to strike language from the ballot literature that claims recreational marijuana will be sold only in regulated stores to customers older than 21. California voters will see Prop 64 on the ballot November 8th. And marijuana use has made its way into the mainstream over the past few years. A new Gallup poll says the number of adult American pot smokers has nearly doubled in the last 3 years. Local cannabis advocates say it's a clear indication of the direction the nation is going. North Coast News KBVU FOX 28's Luis Ramirez has more.
On August 8th, Gallup, an American research-based consulting firm, released a poll regarding marijuana use. According to the telephone survey of 1,000 people between 2013 and 2016, the amount of adult marijuana users has nearly doubled from 7% to 13%. The new information comes before 5 states will head to the polls in November to vote on legalizing recreational marijuana. Danny Burkhardt from the Humboldt County Cannabis Chamber of Commerce says the poll shows the shift in how marijuana use is perceived.
The tolerance will be it's an interesting switch in tolerance that we're seeing.
And people who live in Humboldt County, an area known for its marijuana culture, say it's becoming more accepted. It's apparent through the states that have already legalized it, like neighboring Oregon and Washington states.
The stigma is very much going away, especially with the tax revenue that these states are bringing in, Washington and Colorado. It's hard to say that we should not legalize it at this point in time.
You can't go to a high school, you can't go to, a prison and not find, marijuana if you look. So that just tells us that the marijuana culture is kind of coming out of the light more so now than ever.
The Gallup poll also points out the increase in people who have tried marijuana. Since the 1970s, there has been a 30% increase in people who say they have tried it.
Are you at all surprised with the numbers that are coming out?
Not at all. I think it's more of a reflection of the truth and people being less afraid to speak that truth.
Reporting in Humboldt County, Luis Ramirez, North Coast News, KBVU FOX 28.
The wildfire that is burning along Highway 101 near Stafford is 15% contained tonight. CAL FIRE says it's burned 23 acres. It started yesterday afternoon and quickly spread. One lane of the highway was closed for a period of time while crews worked to keep it from spreading. The cause remains under investigation. In the Bay Area, CAL FIRE is trying to contain a blaze that's now threatening 30 homes in Morgan Hill. And that's known as the Uvis fire has consumed at least 15 acres in Morgan Hill, which is southeast of San Jose. Today, firefighters were dropping water and retardant in the area. No injuries have been reported. Officials are still investigating the cause of the fire. Terrifying moments for some JetBlue passengers as their plane had to make an emergency landing before finally reaching their destination today. Sean Bennett spoke to some of them about what happened.
I felt like I was on the Tower of Terror.
But it was anything but the happiest place on earth.
We just dropped like that without a warning.
For passenger Eileen Lynch aboard the JetBlue Flight 429 from Boston to Sacramento.
Boom, like flew up right way in the air, whole plane shook. Well, I went flying way up in the air, and my laptop flew way up in the air, and there were stuff flying.
A JetBlue spokesperson says turbulence while en route forced the pilot to make an emergency landing in Rapid City, South Dakota.
It was in seconds.
The storage thing up on top opened up completely just for a second and flew out. A bunch of people got hurt. A bunch of stuff fell down all over them.
22 passengers and 2 crew members were taken to a hospital for evaluation. Sacramento-based Dr. Alan Lee was also on board to help.
Mainly just making sure that there was nothing life-threatening with anybody that got injured.
Families held each other a little tighter when they were reunited at the airport.
Yeah, I mean, pretty spooky for a minute.
Turning our attention to the race for City Council in Eureka. There are 2 seats up for grabs. Those are in Ward 2 and Ward 4. In Ward 2, the deadline to file papers was today at 5. Once the deadline came, 2 people who qualified dropped out. That was Chet Albin and Matthew Owen. Only Heidi Mesner is left. Here's what you have to do to run for council. You have to file a series of papers. You also have to get 20 signatures from people who live in the ward you are running for. Ward 2 serves the eastern part of Eureka, and Heidi Mesner is now the sole name on the ballot.
We staff are here to assist them in the paperwork that they need to file. We will explain all of the different nuances that are part of the process, and we would encourage everyone that is interested in serving their city to be sure and reach out to the city clerk's office, and we will ensure that they have the paperwork necessary to do that.
That information is if you live in the area of Ward 4, the southern part of Eureka, because you still have time to file your papers. That deadline is on August 17th by 5 p.m. And the Boys and Girls Club of the Redwoods is working to make sure every child has a snazzy new wardrobe to kick off the new school year. It's with their annual back-to-school shopping program, Child Spree. It's been going strong for 15 years. Kids in need are given a $100 gift card to shop at Kohl's, and it's community members who take them shopping.
All the children that we're targeting are ones who otherwise would not have the opportunity for new school clothing. And as you know, especially if you're going to a school where you don't have uniforms, how you look, unfortunately, is a big deal.
Usually the program serves 400 kids, but because of a shortage in funds, so far there's only enough money to take 40 kids shopping. The goal is to help 120 kids this year, but the Boys and Girls Club needs to raise $8,000 more to hit this goal, which means they need your help. We'll link you to information on how you can help in our news app. A K-9 police officer is out of the hospital, but only after a harrowing experience. Coming up on North Coast News, KBVU FOX 28, the vigil for a fallen Arkansas deputy, and the return of Keena the K-9. And 2 New York police officers having to make a terrifying decision after a suspected bomb thrown into their vehicle. Their stories coming up. Plus, like clockwork, the fog has moved in over the coast, but things are much different inland. Chief Meteorologist Mike Kruger will have the details after the break.
You're watching North Coast News on KBVU FOX 28 at 10 with Karen Bright. And First Alert Chief Meteorologist Mike Kruger. Get the facts right.
2 NYPD officers are being hailed as heroes after putting their lives at risk to get a suspected bomb out of Times Square. They were at the center of a fake bomb attack that happened last month in Manhattan. Now the 2 men are sharing how they made one of the toughest decisions a police officer can face. Bren Greengrass has the story.
NYPD Sergeant Hamid Armani was born and raised in Afghanistan and came to the United States on a calling.
I've seen a lot of people die in front of my eyes. I was a kid, but I was helpless. I couldn't do anything for them, you know what I mean? And I always wanted to be able to save someone's life.
He's now raising his 12-year-old daughter in New York. Armani is a single father.
So every time I leave home, she gives me a big hug and she holds my hand and looks in my eyes. Say, Dad, promise me you're gonna come home.
It's a promise the 10-year veteran almost couldn't keep. Armani was patrolling New York's Times Square, the crossroads of America, with Officer Peter Cybulski.
I'm sitting in the passenger seat, he's sitting in the driver's seat, and next thing I know, something hits my hand, my right hand, and then it hits the dashboard. So I look over to see who just threw something at me, and I see a man giving me a really mean grin and speeds off very quickly. So I look back to see what the device, like what it was that was thrown at me.
It goes, "Boss, this is a bomb."
It was making a clicking sound. It was flashing a bright light. I felt like we had 15 seconds before this thing detonated.
In my mind, I accepted that we were gonna die. I wanted to get as far as possible, so I didn't want anybody else to die with us.
The officers drove away from the crowd, bomb in hand. With seconds passing, they prayed together. Two men, different faiths.
And I looked up, God, I just don't want to feel pain. And at the same time, Peter was praying.
I made the sign of the cross. I started saying the Our Father.
The bomb squad eventually determined the device was fake, and hours later, police captured the man suspected of throwing it in the van. The pair returned to their homes as heroes, and Armani's promise to his daughter remained intact.
The minute I hugged her, she goes, "Dad, don't you dare do that again."
Meantime, the Pentagon is saying Pokemon no on government-issued phones and devices. According to a Washington Times report, Pentagon officials recently sent a memo reminding workers and contractors to keep Pokemon Go off their work phones. The memo said the augmented reality game could be used by spies to pinpoint the locations of sensitive facilities where secrets are stored. Today, a Pentagon spokesman said Pokemon Go, Pokemon Radar, and Pokemon Finder apps are not on the approved list of apps for government-issued devices. Pentagon staff can still play the game on their personal phones, but the Pentagon asked them to use, quote, sound judgment when they do so. And back here in California, services were held today for a man who was shot and killed last week at San Francisco's aquatic park. It happened while he was playing Pokemon Go with friends. Mourners gathered at St. Gregory Catholic Church in San Mateo to remember Calvin Riley. The 20-year-old college student was found with a gunshot wound last weekend near Ghirardelli Square. He was pronounced dead at the scene. U.S. Park Police investigators don't have a suspect. They don't have a motive and barely any information to explain Riley's death. Police are asking anyone who was near San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf Saturday night to contact authorities. An Arkansas police dog who disappeared Wednesday after a gunfight that killed a sheriff's deputy was found alive but wounded today. Check out the joyful reunion at the moment K9 Keena's handler found her.
We were trying to keep Keena contained until Dennis got there, and we were able to do so. When Dennis got there, I'm not even sure what he said, but as soon as she heard his voice, she perked up and started running towards him. A homeowner that's building a new house happened to see her and called 911.
That's a bullet hole. Yeah. She's got one right here by her collar, one on the rear end.
She had one entrance wound, an exit wound on her neck, and one to the back of her body also, which the vet said if it was 2 inches lower that she wouldn't be here. She was inside the car. Dennis was able to get out, and unfortunately Keena wasn't. We knew that she got hit somewhere. It really didn't hit home until our mission was done in finding Keena. Keena stays at the home with her handler, Dennis, and his family, and she is a family member to them. I would certainly like to say thank you to everyone that came out to help search, everyone that came to provide supplies.
Keena is already out of the vet's office and is expected to make a full recovery. A vigil was held earlier this week in Sebastian County for Deputy Bill Cooper. He was shot in the neck on Wednesday responding to a call that morning, the same incident in which K9 Keena was shot. Officials say law enforcement officers were ambushed. They believe that man's intent was to harm police.
It's really not good for your heart or your mind when something like this happens, because you never know what kind of situation an officer can walk into when he's on a call.
There's a lot of just the normal public doesn't understand what we do every day, and I think us being able to understand each other, our own emotions and our own feelings kind of helps when we do the job every day.
Hackett Chief of Police Darrell Spells was also shot, but is expected to recover. The suspect surrendered and is in custody. Still ahead on North Coast News KBVU FOX 28, it's a big day for the Bear River tribe of the Ronaville Rancheria. We'll tell you more about the new rec center after the break. But first, we want to know what's happening in your communities across the North Coast. You can share tips, pictures, and even video with us by emailing the newsroom, checking us out on Facebook, and even on Twitter. Stay with us, we'll be right back. The Bear River Band of the Ronaville Rancheria continues to expand. Today, they had yet another grand opening, this time for their brand new concert venue. North Coast News KBVU FOX 28's Taylor Torgano was there for the festivities and is live in the studio with more. Taylor?
Symphony, the Recreation Center, took just over a year to build, but tonight I was able to see the final product and it was definitely worth the wait.
Beer and country music.
That pretty much explains today's grand opening at the Bear River Rancheria. The brand new venue will be home to many events in the future, starting today with country artists Levin Theft, McKenna Faith, and the Sins Country.
It's beautiful inside, and it's beautiful, place to sit and listen. It's big, but it's intimate, and they've got the #1 rated sound system, in Northern California.
The concert hall will host sporting events too. It transforms into a basketball court for local tournaments, and in October, it will be used for an MMA fight.
It's the beginning of a whole new experience here at Bear River. Yeah, and we are so excited to bring it to Northern California.
Bernard said he saw the need to unite his tribe with the surrounding community, and the Recreation Center will do just that.
Help the tribe integrate into the social makeup of where we are today. And I want the social community to be able to relate to the cultural side of Bear River.
And it seems to be working already.
I think it's amazing. It's almost bringing kind of the city life into the country, and because all the amenities and stuff like that they have in the city that we don't really get, it's kind of nice to have it. Even though you're out on your property, you can still come and enjoy and have something that's really close.
In September, the rest of the Recreation Center will be open to the public. It will be complete with a gym, an ADA compliant weight room, sauna, and conference room.
We are looking to the future. We want to be progressive. We want to engage the community to enjoy life.
The Recreation Center will also offer fitness classes, and soon people will even be able to rent it out for weddings. Live in the studio, Taylor Torgano, North Coast News, KBVU, FOX 28.
And while elephants have retired from the ring, you won't see any other animals at a circus that roll through the friendly city of Fortuna. The Flynn Creek Circus, which is based in Mendocino County, is an all-human circus. They pride themselves on their range of acts that includes trapeze artists, world-class jugglers, as well as acrobats. This is the first time they have set up tent in Fortuna. They hope to give everyone in attendance a great show.
Humboldt is very much like Mendocino, and so the creative mix with the working class people. There's a lot of artistic and hardworking people, and I think that that's what our show appeals to.
The circus is slated to have daily shows through Sunday. Stay with us, we'll be right back. For all your news and weather updates, check out our news app. Search North Coast News TV. It's available for both Android and Apple devices. How I Met Your Mother is next. See you at 11. Good night.